This is Gabby from OFY Marina Valley, English teacher. I am here to talk you through Unit 7, Performance Task 2. So you should have already watched the other videos. If not, now's the time. But for Performance Task 2, what they ask you to do is they ask you to write either a persuasive essay or a short story. So you get to choose. You don't have to write both, but you get to choose one or the other. Choose something you like because you're going to have to continue to work on this for Unit 8. For Unit 7, just the rough draft is due and the oral presentation. Unit 8, the final draft is due. So remember, a persuasive essay is an essay that tries to convince your readers of something, right? This is stuff that you're more familiar with, so like JFK's speech, Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech, things like that. They use evidence and compelling language to argue a position. So if you choose this, you're going to have to write an essay about why the people should believe you, right? So if I'm writing an essay about dogs versus cats and I have to talk about why dogs are better, right? I have to say, dogs are better because they can learn more tricks, dogs are better because they're more loyal, and dogs are better because they are cuter. I don't know. And then I have to try to find evidence that backs up all of those, right? So persuasive essays are what you're more used to writing. So that's a pro, right? A con is it's going to require a lot more research because you're going to have facts and things like that to support your ideas and make it actually convincing. Because if you just ramble on about why Obama is part of the Illuminati, I have read that essay. It was a terrible essay. Please don't make me read anything like that again. I'm not going to count that. That doesn't count. That's just a rant. It's not a persuasive essay. A short story, on the other hand, needs to have those tools of narrative writing, so like literary devices and things like that. They have to have characters, the plot, and you have to have all of those pieces of that little like roller coaster or mountain or however you learned about it. The exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, denouement, or resolution, right? So if you look on this page, this is page 66 in your book, in your workbook. A persuasive essay has a thesis, well-organized evidence with facts, statistics, examples, personal experience. It has ethos, logos, and pathos, logical, emotional, and ethical appeals, persuasive language, so loaded words and things like that. Call to action, tell me how I can fix it, how I can do something to side with you, and then a concluding statement that supports your ideas. That's a persuasive essay. A short story has a setting with a time and a place with concrete sensory details. Remember, sensory. Seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, touching, right? That's your sensory details. You have to include things that reach that if you do this short story. You have to have a main character who's involved in a conflict or a problem to be solved. Remember, there's internal conflict versus external conflict. So internal conflict is something you struggle with inside of yourself, like the loss of a grandmother or whether or not you want to cheat on something. That's internal conflict. External conflict is I'm fighting that homeless guy for a piece of pizza. Like, it's a fight or something that's happening outside of yourself. I am fighting through a hurricane to get to my dog, right? That's also an external conflict. It's something that happens outside of yourself, right? A war, that's an external conflict. You have to have a plot that includes a clear sequence of events related to the conflict. So like I told you before, that little mountain or roller coaster, however you learned it. Dialogue between characters that moves the plot forward and develops characters' personalities. So dialogue is something that will be really important. You'll have to know how to punctuate dialogue, so make sure to be careful with that. Your dialogue should be realistic and help to move the plot forward. So don't have them just talking about nothing. That's an absurd drama. That's not this. Effective pacing or plot strategies such as flashback and foreshadowing. So try those out. Try to play around with it. Make it different. So first things first, choose the assignments you'll write and why. So I will choose to write a short story. because I don't want to look up evidence. That would be me. I don't like research if I don't have to do it. I like creative writing. It's more fun. So these are the directions for the persuasive essay. Skip to page 70 if you're writing a short story. So if I'm doing a short story, I don't have to do this page. But if you are, I'm going to go over it anyways. So persuasive essay topics, here's a few topics that you could look at. Remember, it has to provoke disagreement. If I am saying that the sky is blue, that's not a persuasive essay. That's a fact. There's no need to write that essay. Environmental issues such as climate change or animal abuse, those are really good ones. Crime, how to handle crime, I think might be better. Poverty or homelessness, unemployment. So homelessness, like how should we fix it? So you would have to come up with a solution. Like we need to give every homeless person a single bedroom apartment and find them a job. And then you can make your argument, right? Because that's something that's debatable. If I just say homelessness, doesn't work. Conflicts over race, gender, or religion. This is a really good one for right now. Like Black Lives Matter, all of that. That's something you could write about. Problems in schools, virtual versus in-person education right now during COVID times. All really relevant. You can make them super relevant to right now and what's happening. Identify your claim. So you're going to decide how the problem or how to solve the problem that you've identified. So you chose dysfunctional government, right? If you're not certain how to solve your problem, do some research about the solutions that others have proposed. So I might propose socialism because it works in like Switzerland and the Netherlands and things like that, right? So I've researched that. I know that that's a method that's worked for others. Now I know that that's the solution I would like to push, right? Create a statement that identifies your problem and proposes your solution. That statement will be your claim. So in America today, we have a dysfunctional government. There's my problem. In order to solve our dysfunctional government, the best course of action would to become a socialist nation. There you go. Now I have my problem and my proposed solution, right? That's my claim. And then I have to fill this out. The problem, my solution. Dysfunctional government, my solution. Socialist regime. What caused the problem? Capitalism. I'm going to go with capitalism. How my solution solves the problem? It takes power away from businesses. Who is affected by the problem? All of the American people. Evidence I will need to support my solution. Where it has worked in the past, right? And then maybe put like a website to something. There you go. There's my first part of pre-writing. Analyze both sides. So now I have to look at both sides of the argument to see what counterclaims are present. So what is an alternative or opposing argument about your problem? And what is an alternative solution, right? So in order to fix our dysfunctional government, we need to drain the swamp of all of our bad politicians. And then I might say that. Say we just need to get rid of bad politicians, and that's the solution instead of making it socialist. So I've looked at the other side too, and then maybe try to figure out like what could be wrong with that, right? By getting rid of bad politicians, we don't really know if we're getting rid of all of them because it's hard to tell who is and who isn't. Begin with a strong lead. So remember, a hook is always really important. If you don't have a good hook, your reader won't want to read it. And if I'm reading 6,000 essays in a day, you think I'm going to read the one that starts with this essay will talk about dysfunctional government? Or would I want to read the one that gives me a vivid story and it says, Portland, Oregon, soldiers storming their own people, rubber bullets smash in the faces, blood everywhere, people arrested and taken away in white vans for nothing. That sounds a lot more intriguing than in this essay I'm going to be talking about dysfunctional government, right? You could also ask a question, start with a surprising fact, Those are different ways. And then you want to make sure here that you start with a strong lead and then you add your claim. This gives you an idea about the organization. If you follow my outline, you should be fine. Just make sure you include the counter argument there. Develop your sense of parallelism. So parallel structure, remember, is repetition of grammatical structure. So a dog barked, the cat meowed. It is the same sentence grammatically, but different words. A and the are both articles. Dog and cat are both nouns. Barked and meowed are both past verbs. So same sentence, different words. The other way of doing parallel structure is I went hiking, biking, and running after work yesterday. Hiking, biking, running, all in the ing. You want to make sure that anything like that has the same verb tense, otherwise it sounds weird. I went hiking, biked, and for a run after work yesterday. That sounds really weird to native speakers. Don't do that. Match it all. They give you an example of what's parallel and what's not, and then they have you identify parallelism. So for each item, underline the word or phrase that is not parallel with others in the series. So cell phones provide fun, keeping you safe in an emergency, and convenience. So fun, keeping you safe in an emergency, and convenience. Fun is one word noun. Convenience is a one word noun. Keeping you safe in an emergency is not, right? So you'd underline keeping you safe in an emergency, and then you'd write in, or if you had to change it, I guess, safety, right? And cell phones provide fun, safety, and convenience. Makes for a much better sentence. Fixing faulty parallelism. So these ones you have to rewrite to make sure that they are parallel. So until recently, most people have saved paper photos in shoeboxes, photo albums, or they have bought frames for them. One word noun, shoeboxes, photo albums, one thing, right? Or they have bought frames for them. Or frames, right? There you go. Fixed it. Now you do the rest of them. For the short story, this is what you're going to want to focus on. So focus on conflict, right? So think about the conflict that you want to have and explain it in the lines below. Remember, internal versus external. What do you want to have them struggle with? Create a story chart. So you want to kind of, where's your story going to start? Setting in time, right? Kind of build the conflict for here. Climax, remember, that's where you're sitting on the edge of your seat and you're just like, what is going to happen? And then it happens. And then wind down conflict, how did it resolve, right? So just follow this story chart, you should be fine. Create a setting, so time, place, environment, mood. So let's say mine is current day, so 2020, August, let's go with next month. Place, Southern California. Environment, in family home, and mood is weird, crazy, right? Interview the characters, so I'm going to have my two main characters, so let's say a boy and a girl, right? What is a typical day like for you? How would you describe yourself? What are your main goals? What obstacles are you facing? So I'm going to have them facing pandemic, right? Establish a point of view. So first person, that's a lot of I, me, my. It only sees the first person. It's like how you live your life, first person. Third person is somebody out in the world, right? He, she, they. And limited gives the perspective of one person out in the world that's not you, right? Third person omniscient is going to be third person and everybody knows everything. So it's like God looking into every single person outside of yourself. Narration, punctuation, and dialogue. It teaches you how to do punctuation and dialogue. And then the final draft, or not the final draft, the checklist. So remember, you have to have 2 to 3 pages written or typed, double spaced, 12 point times New Roman, all of that kind of stuff. Go through the checklist, make sure that you've done all of those things, and then you're going to make an appointment with me to have a conversation about your text. Any questions? Let me know. Other than that, I will see you for your oral report.